Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Farah and today I have another video for you from the Triager's Point of View series, and today I'm going to tell you how you can write a good bug report and get your report triaged faster. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So the two main reasons why most reports take longer to get triaged is because of unclear reproduction steps and confusion about the impact of the bug. And these things cause way too much back and forth between the triager and the researcher. So first, I'm going to give you some tips about how to write clear reproduction steps so you can help the triagers reproduce your findings faster. Write short and clear steps instead of writing long paragraphs where too many actions are clubbed into one step. So for example, instead of writing go to the inbox, then click on delete and move to the trash tab all in one paragraph, write small and clear steps like this. 1. Navigate to www.gmail.com. 2. Select an email and delete it. And 3. Go to the trash tab. This will also help the triager reproduce your findings step by step and avoid any kind of mistakes. And trust me, triagers will definitely be thankful to you if they can scan small and simple steps rather than parsing long paragraphs. Including a proof of concept can tremendously reduce the triage time. Sometimes when bug hunters don't include proof of concepts, triagers will have to spend more time in reproducing the bug, and in some cases they may not succeed, which leads to asking questions and a lot of delays. So always include a proof of concept in your submission. For example, a proof of concept for a reflected XSS would be a link that once the triager clicks will enable them to view the execution of the XSS in their browser. And if your proof of concept is extremely complicated, then make sure to leave an explanation so that the engineers who are responsible for fixing the bug can understand what's going on. Try to avoid video POCs as much as you can because videos can take longer to follow because triagers have to repeatedly pause and then follow the steps, and that way it can get hard to get an overview of the issue. But if you think that a video POC is extremely necessary, then I'm going to give you some tips on how you can make it as efficient as possible so that triagers can follow along easily. Rather than noting down the steps on notepad on your screen, make sure that your original report has well-written steps so that the video is not the only source for us to reproduce the bug. Keep the video short and to the point and make any edits that may be required in case any unnecessary seconds have been recorded. For example, if the response was taking too long to load. While editing, feel free to add music in your video. Make sure that the resolution and bitrate of your video is enough so that any text on your screen is clear enough. You can upload your video to YouTube, but double check that it has been uploaded as unlisted and not private. Details are more important than you think, and these details can be as small as mentioning whether the user needs to be authenticated or unauthenticated to perform the steps. If there are too many steps taking place on a single URL, then providing inline screenshots after each step can be really helpful. In case there is a manipulation of an HTTP request involved, then make sure you mention that request in the report for quicker reproduction. Try to provide URLs as much as possible so that even if the triager cannot find the functionality on the UI, they can use a URL or an HTTP request provided by you to directly replicate the behavior. And lastly, don't forget to redact any sensitive information like cookies, tokens, and credentials from the requests, screenshots, and URLs that you have provided. In a scenario where there are two or more users involved in the attack, be very clear about each user's role and what actions need to be performed by them. For example, user A with an admin role performs the following actions: logs into their account, updates their status to busy, and logs out. Similarly, user B with a chat operator role performs the following actions, and so on. Using a report template and copy pasting the description and impact details from OWASP or a security blog is never helpful, because triagers are also security engineers and they don't need to be told what every vulnerability is. Instead of copy pasting a huge paragraph for the description or the impact section, tell us in short what the impact is in that context and which is specific to the bug that you have found. Now let's go on to the next part of better report writing, which is showing impact for your bug. So once the triager reproduces all your steps and ensures that all of them are valid, the next task is to demonstrate an attack scenario. And the best way to show impact for your bug is writing an attack scenario which shows that your bug can either be used to harm the application itself or harm its users. So this is an example of what an attack scenario could look like for an access control bug. First, the admin of the workspace invites a chat operator with a low privileged role, who is also the attacker. Second, the attacker gets access to the UUIDs of all other users of the workspace. Third, since the attacker has all the UUIDs of the users, he uses a crafted HTTP request to delete all of them from the workspace. Keeping this attack scenario in mind, I'm going to give you some tips about how you can paint a picture for the attack scenario of your finding. The first thing to mention in your reports is the starting position that an attacker is already in before the bug can be exploited. For example, in the access control bug that we talked about earlier, the starting position of an attacker has to be at least an account with a low privileged role in the application, which means that any anonymous person on the internet cannot exploit this bug. Mention any assumptions that an attacker needs to make about the victim before the bug can be exploited. For example, assuming that the victim is gullible enough to click on a link is one thing, but assuming that the victim clicks on the link, logs in with their credentials and gives all kinds of permissions to an application is a whole different kind of assumption. Any other prerequisites that an application or an attacker needs to have for the attack to work should also be mentioned. For example, if the attack works only on a specific browser version, or if it requires physical access to the victim's device. Keep in mind that an attack scenario is not necessary for obviously valid bugs, for example, a SQL injection. But writing an attack scenario makes you think about the bug that you have reported, and in some cases you might actually realize that the bug you are reporting has less impact than you thought. And this could be because the attack probably has so many prerequisites that even if an attacker manages to fulfill them, your finding might not be the most interesting one for them. For example, if they have physical access to the victim's device, then they might have more simpler and powerful attack options than the finding that you have reported. But even the opposite could happen, that when you actually sit down and think about the bug and how it can be exploited, you might realize that it's more serious than you thought. So those are all the tips that I have for you today. If you found this helpful, then like this video and subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to be posting videos like this a lot more often. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!